Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Old Warlock. I'm Alex.
I'm Jim.
And more specifically, the Old Warlock Podcast. That's right. This is episode 2.
Count them, 2.
Of the Old Warlock Podcast. And I'd like to give all of you a heads up before we get too deep into this that we have
Wait a minute. Does this include me?
No. Well, it does, but I'm not warning you. I'd just like to give everybody a heads up that we purchased headphones for ourselves for the podcast. And see, now we can hear ourselves talk when we speak into the mic, which has been very exciting.
And you wouldn't believe the kinds of sound effects that you can do.
Sound effects, impersonations. It's really impressive. But yeah,
well, at least we think it's impressive.
We've been really proud of ourselves for the past 2 days.
We've been amusing ourselves to no end with just all kinds of things that, things you used to do as a kid. Well, I'm telling you, they sound 3 times better with a microphone and a headset.
Yeah, so that's what we've been spending our past couple of days doing for the most part. But yeah, just so you know, if you start hearing an undue amount of sound effects or Kermit the Frog impersonations, what's that? Is that a horse?
God, I wish they'd
that's
stop
why.
Those horses running down that. We need to move.
Disappointing. It's really just going to make the podcast feel more alive. So you're welcome, all of you.
Or you might want to just turn it off now and call it good.
Either way, hi. This is episode 2. Thank you for all of you who came back.
Yeah.
After episode 1, if any of you did. But yeah, we're gonna go a little bit differently. We're kind of listening to you guys' feedbacks. We're gonna try to keep it a little more free form.
Well, I'm gonna look up real quick
how to podcast.
No, I've been all over that and I don't understand it.
We still haven't figured it out.
But what I wanted to do is we set up a survey on YouTube.
Oh yeah, and a lot of you guys actually responded
to it. But I want to quickly read off the things that.
You got to go to the YouTube app.
I realize that.
There it is.
Oh, I swear to God. I wanted to go and give some of the results of this
survey.
The survey that we did. Are you going to fill in my words all the way through this whole podcast episode?
Well, maybe if
you are, aren't you? Exactly.
You never realize how much you love the sound of your own voice until you can hear it all the time.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Okay, I'll stop. I'm sorry.
No. You carry on. You know what? I don't think that I can look up the results of that on my iPad. I think it has to be done on the phone. Because Community does not work on YouTube on an iPad.
That's a great television program.
iPad?
No, Community.
Oh.
Hold on.
I could paraphrase.
Oh, I can do this. I have faith. My channel, our channel. All right, Community. So 4 days ago, as of whatever today's date is, what is it, the 7th?
Today is the 7th.
7th of January, 4 days ago, we posted a poll that said, what was your favorite part of the new podcast? And then in parentheses, look at us. We figured out how to make polls. We're pretty proud of ourselves. And the options that we presented you guys with of the favorite part of the new podcast were In the Dungeon, The Dragon Magazine, Old Game Review, parentheses, Pit, that card game we talked about. Our Directionless Banter was option 4, and What Podcast was option 5. And out of a whopping...
Let's not say how many people responded. I mean, I think that's totally irrelevant.
Yeah.
I think we're just looking at percentages.
We're just looking at percentages. But of those 5 choices, What Podcast was the most chosen.
I don't think you can say What Podcast. It needs to be What Podcast?
What Podcast? 45% of the people responding did not know what the podcast was. And honestly, I feel like that's our fault.
Oh, yeah, completely.
We just need to do a better job of advertising. But the 4 people who commented, you know who you are.
And we appreciate it.
And gave us some lovely feedback. We really appreciate it.
But you know what?
Guys.
Here's the thing.
What's the thing?
Granted, there were only 4 people who responded. But guess who is driving a podcast right now? Those 4 people. They're influencing.
That's true.
Podcasting.
They are.
Because they took the trouble to respond.
You are making and leaving your mark on the world. But
what was number 2?
Number 2 was Our Directionless Banter.
Okay, and that's what I really wanted to get to.
Yeah.
Because I think we're really good at directionless banter, not necessarily in a podcast. We just have a lot of
that's all
direction.
We do, basically.
It's kind of our thing.
We just talk a lot.
So I'm thinking that maybe, since we've got these 4 people who are driving our podcast, I think that we need to instill a lot more directionless banter.
Yeah, so we've made the executive decision to, while we're going to keep the segments.
Yeah, we'll still talk about some of the stuff we talked about.
But, we're just going to be more directionless and
we couldn't really be more directionless. We run a YouTube channel for Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. We've got a podcast about D&D. We're pretty directionless. I mean, come on.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, so that's, that's our goal. That's what we're going to try and do. And if you're still here by this point, thank you.
And if you're not here,
can't blame you.
I don't blame you a bit. We're just following what the people want. That's all we're doing.
We are people of the people. I wonder if Zachary hit record on that camera.
I'm serious. No, I think he said that he did. I think he said that he did. Yeah, what we're doing is we're recording these on a camera as well, and we're going to. I know why you laugh. Yeah, I was just waiting for you to flesh that out. We're going to post these videos of the recording of the podcasts on a separate channel, just in case you need a visual to go with the sound
You'll
of our
have the
voices.
option. So that does mean that officially we are going to be creating a separate YouTube channel for, at least that's the plan right now.
But the thing is, here's the thing though.
What's the thing?
If people are listening to this,
which they're not.
But let's just say that let's just say that 5th person out there was
that 5th loyal fan.
That 5th loyal fan. Are they going to listen to the podcast and then go watch it as well? I don't think so. I mean, is it kind of a pointless thing to record a podcast on video and then post it?
You know what? Using our newfound knowledge of the YouTube community page,
which is extensive,
we could put up another poll, and we could let you guys decide. So
I think let's do that.
I think that's a good idea. So let us know. We've got the first podcast filmed, and we're going to film this one as well. We're currently filming this one. But if you guys would like us to post those so that you could watch them because you'd rather watch a podcast, because I know that's a big thing.
I'm old. I don't understand the whole podcasting. I listen to podcasts. Don't get me wrong, but I would never watch one.
Yeah, that's
not my thing.
There's a lot of social media people who on their podcast they film it and then they put it up.
Well,
I
guess I get that.
Yeah, like Joe Rogan, I know who
he
films his and he puts them up.
So what we're doing is we're like Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're on the same level, absolutely. But no, let us know. We'll put up a poll. If you guys would like us to put them up, we'll put them up. If you don't care,
we'll put that in the poll.
Yeah,
Should we not put up these polls,
option.
And then we know not to do them anymore? And then the 4 people it'll probably be down to 2 after this podcast.
Yeah.
Those 2 people can make the decisions for us going forward on what we want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll just we'll figure it out, but let us know.
Yeah,
if you don't care, that's fine. But we have the recording, so we'll let you guys make the decision.
Yeah. So don't pick your nose or anything while we're recording this.
Okay, thanks for the reminder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you have an issue with that. Anyway, so what was it?
I'm gonna catch some heat for that one.
Yeah, I think you are. I'm thinking that a couple different things.
Okay.
I think I still would like to talk a little bit about some of the early magazines.
Yeah.
Maybe just 2. I think we're down to maybe just doing 1 now.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of information being packed into these, and so I don't want to dominate the airwaves here. They're not airwaves anymore. They're video waves. Used to be radio was the airwaves.
You're really getting hung up on this point.
I really am, because I'm old, and this whole technology thing with YouTube and podcasts and whatever. I make use of it, but I don't understand it. That's the problem.
That's okay. I don't think anybody really understands it.
That's the feeling I get.
It's all a big mystery.
I've spent a lot of time.
I know it's not on AM or FM radio that people are going to be listening to this, because we don't have a contract with Sirius XM.
Well, okay, that's not going to be on Sirius XM. It's not going to be on AM or FM.
It'll be on XM? Is there a difference?
No, it's just.
I don't understand it either. But
Well, and the thing is, the feeling that I get on this, though, because I've been, if I do something like this, I jump into it,
Yeah.
You know that.
I do.
I research the heck out of things.
Uh-huh.
And so what is the first thing that I'm going to do? Well, I go and I start looking at YouTube videos about podcasting.
Yeah.
And a lot of those YouTube videos about podcasting don't make a lot of sense to me.
Well, how exactly?
Well, number one, it's a video about podcasting.
And you find this to be antithetical.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not making any sense to me. But going a step further with it, though, I mean, the ones that I've watched, it's very much, here's how you make a podcast, and here are here's the equipment that you need.
Mm-hmm.
Find yourself a subject,
yeah,
and then talk about it, record it,
yes,
and post it on one of the hosting services. Okay, that's all great, but I needed to watch a video to see that, to learn that. Okay, but I knew that going in.
Why'd you watch the video then?
Well, but see,
were you looking for more like, here's what you should be talking about? Because I think that part you have to figure out on your own.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm looking for more of the how you should talk about it.
Okay, I hear what you're saying.
And nobody seems to want to commit themselves on that.
This is the how-to for...
That's right.
Yeah.
There's no research this, talk for this long. Here's what the percentages say. Here's what the results of studies have shown. It's all just, talk about stuff. Hopefully we're going to get 100,000 views on this and make money. And that disappoints me.
I think it just depends on what it is you're talking about.
Do you?
Yeah. Because, different people are looking for different things. I mean, like with one of the podcasts that I listen to, it's talking about philosophy. Those are they're a little bit shorter form. They're like 20, 25 minutes where some guy
because
goes through
philosophers don't have real strong attention span or what?
Yeah.
What's your degree?
Undiagnosed ADHD.
What's your degree going to be in?
Philosophy.
Oh, that's right.
And history, both.
I forgot about that.
So God, please listen to the podcast because I'm not going to have a job after I'm done. I'm going to have 2 bachelor's degrees and no career opportunities. But gosh darn it if I don't love Dungeons and Dragons. So
because that carries people a long way.
Really does.
Look how far I've gone.
Look.
Almost a half a century I've been playing this game, and look at where I've ended up.
Oh,
I know I'm an inspiration for you.
Here I come.
I know I'm an inspiration. I can sense it. I can feel it.
Well, everything will be fine. I've got to hold on to my youthful optimism as long as I can.
That's very true. Yeah. And I think that's an important part of it.
When the going gets rough, might as well play D&D.
Well, that's it. It's escapism.
Exactly.
It's pure escapism.
It's my chosen form of escapism.
I remember when I was younger, that was my thing. It was. I looked forward to those weekend D&D games.
Yeah.
Simply because that was my way to distance myself from all the nonsense that I had to deal with during the week. Mm-hmm. And so, no, it's pure escapism. I think it's extremely valuable. Something I would like to talk about at some point. Probably not on this video.
Okay.
I was having a conversation with Gene, Calvin, John, some other guys that played really early with me.
Mm-hmm.
Way back 1970. 1970.
Kids and teenagers.
Right.
Yeah.
And Gene brought up a really good point. And Gene, if you're listening to this, you might remind me exactly what was going on. Yeah, Gene no longer lives around our area, which is a shame because he's a really good player. He's a great guy. Mm-hmm. Gene was talking to me about all of the things that he actually took away from Dungeons and Dragons, things that he learned or that he experienced, or things that changed his personality in a way, that not changed his personality, but changed his ability to accomplish certain things. Yeah. Because he said, simple things like map reading, that was, especially back in the day when you used graph paper and you drew out your maps, and we in my campaign, we always had a lot of maps that people had to follow and whatever. He said, things like map reading got to be really good. Talking to people and solving problems, really bizarre problems. He said a lot of my skills in that started with playing Dungeons and Dragons. So,
yeah, and I mean, I think that that's kind of one of the aspects of, there's so many different values to games like Dungeons and Dragons and any creative endeavor, really, that I think that, especially with Dungeons and Dragons and all of the misunderstandings that people have about it and the opinions that people have about it, I think that a lot of those kind of get swept under the rug, where, if you're doing world building in Dungeons and Dragons, then, that's not viewed the same way as if you're doing world building for writing a book or something like that. But it's the same activity. You're going through the same motions. You're gaining the same skills and creative abilities. And things like that, problem solving, forming interpersonal relationships, being able to be spontaneous and being thrown into uncomfortable situations, like those are all things that, for me at least, I completely agree with Gene, because, I've played since I was, 12 years old as well?
Oh, at least, yeah.
Yeah, so 9-10 years for me. And those are all skills that I've gotten from the game that are incredibly valuable, that I think that people forget about when it comes to discussing the game.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to say that the game is solely responsible for those things.
No.
That's not what I'm getting at. But, and I know you don't think that's what I'm saying, but I think that there are a lot of things, a lot of those skill sets that at least are honed or they get started from playing the game. And I think that that's underestimated. And I think that a lot of people, I think they approach the game with a different mindset than the mindset that we approach it from.
Like in general, or
no, I don't think
like younger people, or was that what you're talking about?
Well, no, I'm not going to point out and say younger people. I'm just saying that I think that there's been a shift in the approach to the game. It's more of I think it's always been a social experience, but I think in some ways it's become more of a social experience as opposed to a gaming experience. And I'm not explaining that very well, but that's...
No, I understand what you're saying. I'm also nodding in agreement, which you guys can't hear probably.
But if you watch the video of our podcast, you'd see that.
Still up in the air, but yeah. But no, I completely agree. I mean, I think that, I don't have a ton of experience with playing the newer editions or anything like that, but I do probably have more than you.
Very much so.
Yeah, because I play with people my age, and they usually play 5th edition, unless I force them otherwise. But that definitely is more of the emphasis. People don't. It's not they don't care. It's just that it's a different set of priorities.
It's a different approach to the game.
Yeah, and there's nothing inherently wrong with that.
No, there's not.
It's not the way that I would choose to play, because I want a Lord of the Rings high fantasy adventure that I can put myself into and experience.
Right.
But I think that anymore it is more of a. It's just a social thing.
Well, that's just I don't think that I'm not in any way saying this is the case with everybody who plays the later editions. No. All I'm saying is that I see a lot more people, and by see I mean, again, I'm on YouTube. I'm watching people play live streams. I'm watching podcasts.
Getting confused.
I'm watching podcasts and listening to videos. Yeah. But no, I see a lot of people, the way that things are played when they're streaming, and I don't get the same, not with a lot of the players, I don't get the same level of seriousness and self-immersion that I think came with the way we played it back in the day. It's just a different approach. I think that games in general are different from the way they were when I was younger.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, and we've talked about this before in blog posts and everything else, but I think that it's just the advent of video games that's changed that.
I think so too. Yeah, I think that really is the underlying cause.
We keep talking about the Skyrimification of Dungeons and Dragons, where you want to be the superhero, and when you are that superhero, that allows you to stay with the same group and keep those relationships going for longer. And I think that that's what the priority is.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that there's less investment from that. I think there's less investment in developing the character. There's less investment in the character because you're not developing that character from the ground up in a really meaningful way.
Yeah.
But I think that also depends on who your dungeon master is and who's running your game.
Yeah,
I mean, there are exceptions to what I see all across the board, but I think that that is one of the issues that I have with some of the later editions. But let's not go too far down that road.
No.
Because, you play the game to have fun. And if you're having fun playing the way you play, that's all that matters.
Yeah, that's fine. It's still at the end of the day, it's the same base set of experiences that you're having. Speaking of
playing, however, I think we should talk a little bit about the game that we played the other day with Marcus and Cody.
I think we should too.
That was a great game.
It was a fantastic game.
It was really good.
And if you guys are listening, I don't know if you are. I'm so proud of you both.
I am too. They haven't played with me. I mean, both of them have played with me maybe a total of what? 4 times, 5 times?
Not even that many. I'd say I think this was the third.
I think for Cody it might have been the third. I think for Marcus it might have been the 5th.
I'm not sure. I can't remember.
Because he played back when you guys were really young.
Yeah, when we first met. But for a little bit of background, my friends, Marcus and Cody, they're my age, in their early 20s. For a Christmas present for my friend Marcus, who loves Dungeons and Dragons a lot. He's a huge fan, but he doesn't get the opportunity to play that often. He always wants to play with Jim / my father here, because he's like, for all of us, he's the ultimate dungeon master.
That's
I'm trying to be a good son, but yeah. So we had them come over, and my friend Cody and I kind of organized this whole experience where we were going to have him get into this big themed, making tavern food type thing, sending a letter to him beforehand that was on theme with the adventure. It was a letter from somebody in the world to his character beforehand, but we
kind of set the scene.
Yeah. But they got here, and it was one heck of an adventure. It
really was.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about it to me was, and I always love this. It happens. I got to be honest. It happens fairly frequently in my game.
Mm-hmm.
There was one fight.
Yeah.
And that didn't last long at all.
Yeah, just the one.
And I think that things still, to me, they were still really exciting. And the other cool thing about it was, it didn't go off the rails, but it took a sidetrack. Okay, let me back up. What I wanted to do, since I only get to play with these guys, I get to play with them very infrequently, and Cody and Marcus are some of my favorite people. We don't get to play that often, and so every time we start to play again, we have to start all over again. We have to start from scratch because we lose track of where we were, what we were doing, and so I thought, well, I want to have something set up to where they can, if we pick up again, or we play online, it'll be easier to jump back into it. And so what I decided to do was use Barrel Maze. And we've talked about that. We talked about that in our Christmas special.
Yeah, go check it out.
It's a great publication made by I think it's Greg Gillespie who makes them. Yeah, it's Greg Gillespie. And Barrel Maze is a complete adventure, and it's a little on the pricey side. Goes up to, I want to say that you can picking up Barrel Maze complete is about $80, but it is every penny is worth it on that.
Yeah,
on that publication.
Incredible.
But it's also self-contained.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've picked up Barrel Maze. I've made changes to it to fit it into my campaign. I usually don't run modules. Most of my stuff is stuff that I've made, but every now and then I come across something and think, I got to find a way to work this into my world. But anyway, we had Barrel Maze complete, and we set that up, and I thought, okay, this way when we play whenever, we can pick up right where we left off, and there's not going to be this open-ended thing that we have to remember. It'll just make it easier to pick up where we left off the previous time we played. So I'm ready for the Barrel Maze. There's a little bit of a townscape area. There's there are a couple little settlements. There's a castle in the area, but the focus of Barrel Maze is supposed to be going into this burial complex, and then you get down into a mega dungeon, and that's really where you are from that point on. And I thought, this is going to be great because it's self-contained. It's going to be an easy thing just to put down and then pick up again.
Yeah.
But, and this is great that this happened, I changed a little bit of, I fleshed out a little bit of what the cities were, some of the different factions were. I made those compatible with my campaign, and you guys never got to the Barrel Maze.
No.
I mean, you never got close to the Barrel Maze.
By the time we got to the jumping off point for going to the Barrel Maze, we had basically no interest at that point in time in going there because we had started doing so many other things in the town. And this is the second time that I've started the Barrel Maze, at least.
Not with this character, but
not with a different character. Yeah,
right.
It was a couple years ago, and it was a different character. But the experience that I had this time was completely different.
100%.
Absolutely. Like you could barely tell that they were the same adventure. If the maps weren't the same, you wouldn't recognize it.
Right.
But yeah, and I think it really just came down to the way that they decided to play the game, because they both created these unique, strange characters that were just absolutely awesome.
They were. Marcus with, and I've never, ever had this happen.
Mm-hmm.
Marcus, when I said, okay, what are you looking at here? What kind of, give yourself a little bit of a backstory so we can get started on that, and then we'll expand your backstory. But I want you to have something in your head that you'd like to play. And he said, well, I want to play a half-orc character. I thought, okay, I've had plenty of people play half-orcs in my campaign in the past. And he said, but I want it to be half-orc, half-hobbit.
Which was just
never have I had this happen. But then he had all these different things. He ended up making the half-orc, half-hobbit. And the thing is, I never knew what to actually call him. Are you a half-orc or are you a half-hobbit?
Well, yeah, because he's both.
Right.
Usually
when you say half-orc, you think, okay, it's half-orc, half-human. Well, guess what? So, but then he had him be a really low-level thug assassin, which, again, and he had the reasoning behind it. Yeah, it was great. And then Cody on the other, the other side
made a, what was it?
It was just dwarf fighter.
A dwarven fighter, which was kind of a bard.
Yes.
Who he kind of played it as a bard with like
a beginning bard,
a starting out bard, a dwarf fighter who liked to sing. And in the first, I hadn't been introduced yet. They started off together, and they were like traveling down the road because the way that we set it up, we sent a letter to Marcus the day before from his cousin saying, hey, come to this place. There's treasure here. There's a lot of ways to make money. So we wax sealed it. We might throw some pictures up somewhere.
That'd be kind of fun.
Then I delivered it to him the day before, and then the next day he shows up with this letter, and that kind of sets the groundwork for the adventure. So he and Cody's character have to go and do all this. They go and try and find his cousin and make some money. So I hadn't been introduced yet, but they make their way into the first town that they're in, and they go into a tavern, which is kind of like a rough and rowdy sort of a place. And Cody, while he's sitting there,
one more detail, and I think this is crucial to this whole thing. Cody had decided that his dwarf was madly in love with an elvish girl who lived at this. They're all really, these people are all the characters are supposed to be dirt poor, and he had fallen in love with this elvish woman or girl at this farming community that they lived in, and she was having nothing to do with him, and so he wanted to have it so that his character had decided that the only way to win this elf girl's heart as a dwarf was to go out and make himself a rich man and come back. So this is the overlying theme
of his character.
Exactly. And so go on. I'll let you. I just want to put that in. Go ahead and keep continuing.
So he's madly in love with this elf, and the two of them are together. They're like making their way slowly in the first town. They go into this.
Not the elf and Cody, but Marcus and Cody.
Yeah, Marcus and Cody.
This elf woman had nothing to do with.
She was back home. Think of I was thinking of like a Sam and what's the Hobbit's name in the tavern that he's in love with?
Rosie.
Rosie, yeah, kind of a Sam and Rosie situation, but way more estranged, and she doesn't care at all. But anyway, they get into this tavern, and Cody decides that he wants to just liven the place up and try and find some people to befriend and take on the adventure with. Take on the adventure to go find this cousin and make some money. So it's kind of quiet. Everybody's being real shady, and he goes up to the bar, and he asks Jim, "Hey, are there any dwarves in here?" He said, "Absolutely." Roll the dice. Absolutely, there are 5 dwarves down
at the bar.
Down at the bar, sitting at the bar a little ways down from you guys. So he says, "Okay." Walks down to the dwarves, and he's adopted this powerful Scottish accent the entire time we played. He didn't give it up once during the entire
He really
game.
didn't.
So he goes down there. He starts talking to these guys and trying to make friends with them, and he decides to climb up on top of the bar, and he starts singing a song that he wrote while he was sitting at the table. He wrote
at the table with us.
With us. He wrote out a poem that he was going to sing about this beautiful elf named Mary that he had fallen in love with. His character climbed up on top of the bar, and he said, "I'm going to sing this song." And so
I was expecting, as I'm sitting there, and he's explained to me what he's going to do. And that's the way I play my game. You don't do checks. You don't try and say, well, I've got this ability to do this, so if I roll the dice a certain way, I'm successful. No. In my campaign, you do it. If you have to talk your way past a city guard, you have to talk your way past a city guard. Then you have to convince me.
You have to do an improv session basically with you.
It is. It's an improv session for pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Well, I was expecting Cody to say, "Okay, I'm going to try and talk to. I'm going to sing this song," and I thought that he was just going to leave it at that. But no, he suddenly belts out a song complete with words,
and it was good.
It was really. It was like top notch.
This heartfelt love song to this elf.
And then the way that the way I do things is you have to do the improv, and then I will roll a dice to check your success, but I give you pluses or minuses based on your improv. And I couldn't help it. It was just one of those that was absolutely amazing.
That was incredible.
So I rolled the die, and he rolled the die, and he nailed it with this. But I mean, he almost had no chance for failing because of this incredible song.
And I don't know if I've ever laughed quite
it was hysterical.
That hard.
It was hysterical, but in a great way.
It was fantastic. None of us were expecting it because he just decided, okay, song time.
Yeah.
And he belted it out.
Now understand, Cody has a background in acting, and he's actually very good.
Yeah.
But I wasn't expecting him to bring that to the table in the game. But both he and Marcus, all the way through, their role playing and the way they were approaching and talking to people. And again, it's all improv. You go to talk to somebody to get information. You come and talk to me, and I'm that character. You've got to convince me to part with the information you want or whatever.
Yeah.
Both of them did just an excellent job.
Yeah, I mean, Cody played this, kind of in-your-face, excited dwarf the whole time very well. And then Marcus had more of a kind of nuanced, complex...
Yeah.
to understand character with a lot of different background storylines that he created, but he played the character in a way that you could buy each of those storylines.
Yep. Well, and then the other thing that was great was the interaction between the two of them.
Yeah.
Because Cody was playing the brash, overactive, loud entertainer dwarf to the hilt with the expectation and Cody had the expectation that Marcus was going to shut him down and keep him under control.
Yeah, he was the straight man the entire time.
Exactly, which Marcus played perfectly all the way through.
It was really a fantastic.
It was really good. It was really good
of role playing, and I think that it was a good example and a good reminder to us that that kind of having obscure, strange characters is something can be really good.
Yeah,
if you really go as hard as you can to try and play that character the way it should be played, it improves the experience for everybody.
It really did. And I, as a dungeon master, that was one of the most fun sessions I've had in quite a while.
Yeah.
I mean, you played good. You always play well, but
thank you.
But I just wasn't expecting, the fact that I've only played with them a couple of times for them to. And I think it's because a part of it's also because they trust me. They know who I am. They're not embarrassed to.
Yeah, I mean, they've known you for a decade at this point.
Well, I've known them since they were like 10. 12, at least Marcus.
Something like
I've known him that long. Cody, not quite so long, but pretty close.
Yeah.
But I felt good that they felt comfortable enough to just jump into this with both feet and get after it. But then one of the things that I really thought was fun was. Partway through it, there's a whole complex story I'm not going to get into because these guys are still playing this game. But somebody took a crossbow shot at Cody in the middle of the night, and it was almost like somebody really had taken a crossbow shot at Cody.
Yeah.
And the reaction of both Marcus and you, that was really the only combat that we had that evening, and it was with, I think there were 2 people, but it was over and done in real short order. But the fallout in the investigation and the why did this happen and what's going to happen next and what do I need to be aware of was perfect. It really was good.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's kind of a balance that you like to use a lot in the way that you play the game and in the way that I play the game, where if you're we talk about the importance of fighting and the importance of role-playing, but if all you're doing is fighting, then basically all you're doing is sitting there and rolling dice.
Right.
There's only so much
Right.
imagination that you can put into having a big battle.
Right.
But then we've gone whole nights before without
Yeah.
a single piece of combat, and it's still been a lot of fun because it's about different aspects of creativity and imagination,
Right.
instead of just slaughtering gnolls, which can be fun.
Especially after a bad week.
Yeah.
Take
your
we gotta go
anger out on
slaughter
some
some
gnolls.
gnolls. I'm tired of this.
But yeah.
No, but it was good. I just wanted to mention it because I just thought it was a really good session.
Yeah.
That we played the other day, and I'm hoping that both of them are heading back out. Marcus is headed across the state to do some things, and Cody's heading down south to another state. So
yeah, we're all college age, so we kind of have to go our ways every once in a while.
Right.
But
hopefully
we'll get back to
we'll
it.
be able to continue that one because that was just a lot of fun.
But yeah, that's what we've been up to.
Yeah, conquering life, one D&D session at a time.
Conquering people's love of music, one D&D session at a time. If we can get a hold of that song, we'll post it somewhere so you guys can take a look at.
No,
the
what
lyrics.
I really want to do.
Let's have him sing it.
Yep, I want him to sing that. He needs to be on the podcast. He needs to sing it in that Scottish brogue that he adopted for that character, and that's what I really want to have happen.
We'll see if we can make that happen. But yeah,
what else do we want to talk about?
I don't know. We could talk about a board game that we played recently.
What we played recently?
We played Mansions of Madness recently.
We did.
And listen, I know that a lot of the people who are here, a lot of you guys are probably
of the four of you
/ 3 other people who downloaded it or whatever it was.
By mistake.
Exactly, yeah.
Thought they were doing some sort of
What
a
are these
magician
doofuses?
Wizards, warlocks.
Wizards,
Okay,
that's
yeah,
fun.
we'll do
I
that.
like magic.
Oh wait, who are these guys?
Yeah. But anyway, it's been a while since I've discussed this, but my loathing
Oh, here we go.
of the board game Betrayal at the House on the Hill is unparalleled.
It really is.
It's
visceral. It is visceral.
I hate that game.
And I don't know quite why.
There's a reason, and I'm going to tell you the reason.
Yeah, tell me
right now.
I don't know what it is.
The reason is because before I ever played Betrayal at House on the Hill, I played a game called Mansions of Madness,
which is
second edition of
which
it.
is pretty amazing.
And I can confidently say that the second edition of Mansions of Madness is objectively the greatest board game ever created by anyone ever.
I'm gonna have to. I wouldn't say no on that.
It is creative, magnificent. It creates. I mean, granted, all of the storylines are basically stolen, but that's okay because they're just taking Cthulhu storylines essentially, which are pretty generic and understood by people. But the way they execute them is incredible. For those of you who haven't played it, basically the way that the game works is. It's a game where you place down tiles as you explore some kind of environment, whether it's a house or a city block. Yeah, a ship, a train.
That's my favorite one. Is the one with the train.
There's one with a university, but as they supply you with these tiles that your character is presented with some kind of issue or mystery that they have to solve in a late early 1900s Cthulhu Arkham type of environment.
Right.
As you explore these environments, you place down these tiles and you basically build the house or whatever it is that you're in as you go. But the beauty of it is that the whole thing is run through an app that you download for free on your phone, iPad, laptop, whatever.
Which contains music, sound effects, the whole thing.
Narration, everything. Yeah. And so the app essentially controls all the rules, and it governs what would otherwise be a very complex game to make it incredibly simple. But I'm sure that a lot of you have heard of it if you like these kinds of board games. But we played it the other night, and I was just reminded of its grandeur.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. I mean, we died. We lost.
We did really bad.
we went the wrong way.
That may be the worst we've ever played.
I think it really was. It did not turn out well. It was not good.
For the most part, it's one of those games where it's everybody who's playing versus the game, unless some conditions are met and other things happen. But I know we don't usually talk about board games too much,
but I think we need to start.
I think so.
There are so many of them out there that are kind of fun and cool. I think we need to do that. I mean, we kind of got started with talking about Pit last time.
Yeah, Pit's a good game.
Yeah,
but this was I think that one of the things that kind of gets forgotten in especially role-playing games is using different environments and using different settings with different themes to kind of portray creativity. Because of course there are games like Call of Cthulhu and Boot Hill, but I think that they kind of get swept under the rug in favor of things like Dungeons and Dragons. And this just
I see what you're getting at. Yeah. I understand what you're saying.
Fantasy becomes swords and dragons and nothing else.
Right.
And I think that
maybe different, and there might be different types of swords and different types of dragons, but underneath it all, it's kind of the same.
Lord of the Rings dragon isn't that much different from Game of Thrones dragon.
There you go.
But it really renewed my interest personally in trying to figure out how to play Call of Cthulhu. Which,
if any of you out there have played Call of Cthulhu, we're working on it. We've played it just a couple times.
We've played it twice, I think.
I'm really excited about playing Dark Ages Call of Cthulhu.
Oh my goodness, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, and we haven't gotten there, but I think Bill would love to play that too.
Yeah,
because I think that would be right up his alley.
I completely spaced that they're like 5 different settings.
Oh, there's the Roman one, which I would love to play. There's World War I.
There's Victorian England.
Oh yeah,
World War I.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah,
there are a lot of them.
But I mean,
use your words, Jim.
I don't know. I've always had kind of a love for Cthulhu anyway.
Well, yeah, you have.
Just
That's
because
true.
I really like that sort of pseudo-Victorian Arkham setting that the whole thing has to do with. But I think that definitely playing Call of Cthulhu is something that I would like to do.
Well, we should do that. What we might end up doing then is we should sit down and play. And I talked to Bill about it a while back, and he wants to play. So I think we should actually sit down and play it, and then maybe talk about it on one of our podcasts.
Because the one time we did play it, it was a lot of fun. It's a very different game.
Yeah, you're not out there to kill people.
No.
You're there to figure things out and avoid being killed, really, is kind of what it boils down to.
Yeah, but just thought I'd mention that.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you did.
Big fans of Manchester Madness over here. Go pick yourself up a copy.
Yes, and that was our fun thing for the past week or so.
That's what we did.
So yeah, and it was enjoyable.
It's a very fun game. I'm just sorry I'm looking at the wall of games now.
Those of you who are looking at the video, you can see us gazing off to the side here. And
gazing hungrily at the wall of games, with the exception of anything Catan or Ticket to Ride related.
No. Ticket to Ride is a fine game.
No, it's not.
It is.
No,
Ticket to Ride is a very good game. I don't know why you have an issue with Ticket to Ride. But
see, this is what I'm excited about for the podcast. It's going to provide us with the opportunity to voice to the people our differing opinions.
Yes, of which there are many.
There are many. But boy, I can't stand Ticket to Ride.
Ticket to Ride is one of the best games I've ever seen. The mechanic of it is really original, creative.
I know it's beloved, and I'm sorry to any of you that this offends. I'll even look at the camera. I am sorry.
So if any of the 4 of you do not like or like Ticket to Ride, let us know.
Yeah. Put your thoughts in the comments below. But yeah.
Well, I think we should move on from just reminiscing and what is it? This is our directionless battle.
Directionless banner.
Directionless.
A lot of directionless banner. I can't.
It really is.
I can't
how long have we been doing this?
I don't know what we're up to, but it's been a while. So if you're still here and you're ready for some structure,
hey, we're ready. We're done now. We've got all the
directionlessness.
Very good. That was very good. Yeah, the directionlessness is out of our systems. Now
philosophy major.
Now we're going to go to the directioned banter. I want to. In the first one, we took a look. We chose a random magic item.
We did.
Out of the Encyclopedia Magica, of which there are 4 volumes, but we only chose one of them to choose our magic item out of, and then we talked about it a little bit. I want to do the same thing.
I'd like to do that as well.
For number one, this is content.
It is
for us, but there are like a billion different magic items in this Encyclopedia Magica.
Yeah.
And if you have a chance to get the Encyclopedia Magica, do it, because it's actually just a fun read. If you're as much of a D&D geek as I am,
then it's
it's a good thing to sit down with on a rainy day or
a sunny day or
any day, really.
Any day.
Yeah. But let's do this.
Yeah.
So
go ahead. I did a bad job at picking the random item last time, so I'll leave it to you.
Volume 3, Encyclopedia Magica. I'm just going to
open it up,
crank it open, and we're going to talk about this. Oh, hey. All right. We have got Torlock's Saddle of Comforts.
Interesting.
I kind of dig this.
I like it. What is, very briefly, what does Torlock's Saddle do?
I can't read this briefly.
All right, read it in depth then.
It says, most Dragon Knights use saddles for comfortable rides on their mounts. Torlock's saddle, however, was created to ease the rigors of long cross-country journeys on dragonback.
I was going to say Dragon Knights.
Yeah, its seat and safety straps offer a pleasant, secure ride, but its main attractions are the various pouches and what is concealed within them. The Saddle of Comforts contains the following items. Each may be used and replaced, then used again after at least 24 hours have passed. If the original item is not returned to its pouch within 24 hours, it loses its dweemer. I love that word, dweemer. You don't know what it means, do you, Mr. Philosophy Major?
Listen, I know that the dweemer are what the dwarves are called in Skyrim. That's all I got, though.
Oh, it's painful to me.
That's what I get for going to a state college.
There you go. It's dweemer, and no other magical items appear to take its place, blah, blah, blah. There's a 30% chance for any saddle that is found to be missing 1 die 8 of its items. But here are the items. A potion of dragon sight.
Wow.
A decanter of endless water.
Ooh.
A cloak of warmth. A potion of fire resistance. A rope of climbing. A tent of shelter. A serpentine owl. A serpentine owl, a figure of wondrous power. Those are mentioned in some of the earlier AD&D stuff.
Interesting.
A horn of fog, which I just think is one of the coolest things ever.
What
a
does
horn
a
of
fog
you blow
do?
on this horn and you basically create a big fog.
So it's a medieval fog machine, basically.
Well, think of it. Fog horn.
Leghorn.
No, not leg. No. I'm just thinking. When you're on a
No,
boat.
yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
That's cool.
It's cool. Yeah. I just like what they've done with the words.
Yeah, I think it's fun.
You get a pouch of food and an iridescent spindle Iowan stone. But anyway, I think it's great.
I think it's awesome.
I don't think that I would ever have this actually be in my campaign simply because
it's too powerful.
No one rides dragons.
Yet.
Well, actually, no, that's not true. You have.
No.
No. You fought dragons. That's right. Yeah, you were flying and you fought the dragons.
Yeah, because I have
with a Vorpal.
I have a ring of flying and a magic carpet, and
that's right.
Me and my brother and one of our NPCs had to break up a siege of a tower by fighting dragons, and to this day, it is the single coolest thing I have ever done in my life.
Every roll you had that day went perfectly for you.
Oh my gosh,
that was quite a good adventure.
Yeah,
I remember that.
But if there were the opportunity to ride a dragon, I think that would be a cool thing to have.
Oh yeah, I think so. It's something that I've never really considered people being able to do.
Yeah, the way that you kind of play and characterize dragons, that's not something that would necessarily be easy to have happen.
I mean, I can see there being ways that you could use magic to do it.
Or in a specific circumstance.
Where the dragon was willing.
A dragon allows you to ride it.
Yeah, but that would be a real specific circumstance in my world.
Yeah. A one-off kind of.
Yeah.
You're not going to form an army of people riding dragons.
No, you're really not. And if you get a dragon to allow you to ride at one time, there's going to be a price to pay.
Yeah.
So, anyway, kind of a cool item.
It's a neat item.
Yeah, we'll move on.
Let us know how you would use that item.
Yeah,
listeners.
Yeah, I guess
if
we do
you're
have
still there, guys.
The 4 of you, maybe 2 of you now. Maybe there's 1 of you left at this stage, but
we'll see.
But
moving on.
I also want to talk about a monster like we did last time.
Monster.
A random monster.
Out of the what? The Advanced Dungeons and Dragons
Monster Manual.
The first one.
So I'm just going to randomly open this up and
close it again
and let it. Smart aleck. And I'm going to point to this.
Oh.
Whoa.
I am passionate about these.
Whoa. So, we've got Baalzebul.
The Archdevil.
The Archdevil in here. I just want to look at his stats real quick.
Sorry, our chairs are creaking. If you can hear that.
Oh, I thought that was my knee. So anyway, armor class -5, 166 hit points. Wow, damage per attack 2 to 12 plus poison plus your better weapon to hit. Not strong enough.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say.
Not even.
You want my hot take of the day?
I do.
These need to be way more powerful.
Yeah, I mean, this is an archdevil.
This is the equivalent of Satan.
Right.
Like you have
166 hit points? No way.
That's nothing. I mean, let's see, his armor class is -5. My main character in your world runs around at -6.
When he's armored up.
Yeah, when he's armored up and ready to go. There's no way that my human character
should be able to take on.
Should be more power. Yeah.
Yeah, this is just not strong enough. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I love the presence of them.
Yeah.
I think that they're on the, that's one of those things that you have to have somewhere, but you have to make it relevant to its position in the campaign.
Absolutely.
And 166 hit points just doesn't make it.
Yeah, I mean, it was for my last birthday, you finished my collection of AD&D books and got me the Manual of the Planes.
Yes.
And reading through that, I think that might be, in terms of what's in it, that might be my favorite D&D manual.
You had mentioned that. Yeah, you said that was something
it kind of, it gave, especially when it came to the devils and the different levels of hell and things like that. It's incredibly creative the way that it's all written out and done. And I think that should there ever come a time when somehow your character manages to come in contact with one of these, it should be like you have met an unbelievably powerful thing that only other unbelievably powerful things should be able to fight.
Right.
But yeah, it's like it's the way that it's written in the Manual of the Planes. It's almost impossible to get to the levels, those levels, those planes, those levels of hell. And if you do get there, you're gonna die from everything that's going on there, basically, unless you're really lucky. But I don't think that the stats here necessarily reflect that danger.
Right. Well, that's too bad. Yeah, but I mean, that's one of the reasons I want to kind of go through some of these is point out some of the ones that I agree with, and also just next time we play, I know of things to change. So.
Yeah, it's cool though.
I was going to say something else. Oh, one of our viewers on YouTube quite a while back mentioned in one of the comments actually playing a game that is largely involved around the planes. And I
vaguely remember.
I cannot remember what that was, but I need to look that up and talk about it, because there's actually a game to play that is largely centered around moving in and out of the different planes, which is, I think, is great. I need to look it up though.
What do you mean a game?
It's like a role playing game.
I vaguely remember something about that.
And I feel bad because I've used components of that game before, but right now my brain is not functioning terribly well. But I've used components of the game before in my campaign. There's a city that most things kind of take place in that camp. I'm gonna have to look that up, and then we'll talk about it next time.
Yeah, because we're big fans of what we understand about the planes and what goes on there, and they get integrated, especially the ethereal plane
for
bags of holding.
Oh yeah.
Things like that. We do use he uses stuff like that a lot in his campaigns, which is cool. But we've talked a little bit about trying to expand into other planes more and more.
Well, and I've always made anytime you deal with the planes, they're dangerous.
Yeah.
Go figure, because that's how I roll. But but one of the things that I finally let it slip a while back. I always have made things like bags of holding and such. I actually have those open onto the ethereal plane, and so if something happens, there's a very small chance that something moving through the ethereal plane can come across your bag of holding from the other side.
Yeah.
And I have yet to have anybody notice that something has gone missing out of their bag of holding because they don't understand the mechanics of how it works.
And see, as soon as I remember when you said that to me, and that was terrifying because my most powerful character has 2, and basically all of his net worth is
in those bags of holding, right?
Split between those 2. So I might have to.
Well, I mean, it's always a small chance. It's a very, very tiny chance that something in the vastness of the ethereal plane is going to come across the backside of your bag of holding and go, what's here? And rip
what's
up,
this?
get a dagger and I'll just take these with me. But it can happen, and it has happened. It has happened in the past.
To me?
No, actually not to you. I shouldn't tell you that, but no, not to you. But it has happened to other players who've suddenly said, well, I'm going to use the whatever. No, you're not. Well, where is it? Don't know. Well, it's because they had it in a bag of holding and somebody took it.
Dive on in and go through that big hole.
That's right. That's go, keep your inventory up to date and make sure
whatever horror has stolen your goods.
Or just let them have it and stop storing stuff in a bag of holding.
Cthulhu can take your stuff.
That's right. Just let him go. You can always find another thing.
You didn't need that crystal ball.
Exactly. Just let it go.
Hey, along those lines, that just made me think of something.
Uh-oh.
This is part of a miniature segment that I'm going to start of things that I actually like about 5th edition. I know this is going to be a very controversial thing to talk about, but it doesn't have anything to do with the rules or the way the game is played. Well, it's just an interesting bit of creativity.
I don't understand that.
It's just something that's in 5th edition that a friend of mine told me about when they were playing.
Okay.
It's called the Bagman, and it's along these same lines where essentially a monster is introduced in some supplement. I have no idea which one it was because there's like 1,000 of them. Where there's a creature that is a former adventurer who, in order to escape some kind of monster, climbed into their bag of holding.
Nice, yeah.
Like thousands of years ago,
right.
And never managed to get back out. And so because of like the magic that goes on in there or something, they transformed into this evil thing that there's like a 2% chance or something whenever you find a bag of holding, it's going to have a bagman inside of it.
Which actually makes a lot of sense.
It does, because that's something that I've done in order to escape certain situations. But then,
that makes really good sense. I like that.
So you have to roll as soon as you get the bag to see if there's one in there. It's not something that's killable by normal means because it's like taken on plain characteristics.
Sure.
But then every night when you go to sleep, there's a % chance that it's going to climb out of the bag that you have recently opened. And there's a drawing of it in the thing, and it's like this creepy looking thing with these long fingers, and it's going to come out and attack you or take something or something. So
I love that.
I like
That's really good.
It's just kind of a freaky little thing that adds almost a horror element.
Oh yeah. But I've always felt that the bag of holding is. I've always felt that it's kind of a cheap way of dealing with your stuff. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
But because of my vested interest in this topic, I disagree.
Understandable.
But you're right.
Understandable.
Right.
It's
a workaround.
Right. It is, and it doesn't make you be. It takes away forcing you to be creative with the way you take care of your things.
Yeah. Especially once you've made some progress and you have a lot of
stuff. Yeah. And so you don't have to exercise any creativity. It's put it in the bag of holding. It's just a cheap opt out.
Yeah.
So, which is why I make it possible for it all to be stolen, depending on some dice rolls.
It's just because you hate your players.
I don't hate my players. I dislike my players.
Did you tie the rope onto the wall, John?
No, I think that was Bill.
Was it Bill?
Yeah, it was Bill.
Did you tie that rope onto the wall?
No, he just said I throw Gene the rope. Bill, understand, Bill was up on top of the wall. Gene was down at the bottom of the wall. There was a battle going on, and no, there wasn't a battle. They were just trying to sneak into the castle, and so Bill said, "Well, I'm going to throw Gene the rope," and I said, "So you just throw Gene the rope?"
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Yep, I'm just throwing Gene the rope." And so Gene looked at me and held his hands up like he was being bombarded, having a big coil of rope slap into him. That's kind of the way I play, guys. So just so you know.
Just another fun anecdote.
You've probably been able to figure that out already,
to deduce it by now.
Yeah. Last thing.
Yeah.
I think it's important that we continue looking at these magazines.
The Dragon magazines?
Yeah, well, not yet. We're not there yet. But we're on one of the last strategic review. I just want to go through that quickly.
See what we can...
And see if there's anything really cool that we need to talk about.
I agree. Let's do it.
Let me see here. We have got... Okay, this is from winter of 1975.
Okay.
A single copy of the strategic review was 75 cents.
Wow.
So this is before I even knew the game existed.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who have followed Tim Kask on YouTube, he's got some really interesting things. If you're looking for the history of Dungeons and Dragons, you need to check out Tim Kask's videos on YouTube, and that's Kask. He was editor at TSR for a long time. But it mentions here that this is when Tim Kask joined TSR as the periodicals editor right here in winter of 1975. So if you know about him, this is when he first became involved with TSR.
Wow.
But there's another interesting thing in here. Then we'll be going into some of this at a later date. There is, they've got a section here about D&D oriented magazines, and there's one in here. There's several. There's Alarms and Excursions, Cranner, Rill, a couple of other ones. But the one I want to point out is this Alarms and Excursions. Although I need to look at this Cranner Rill and see.
I've never heard of that.
I've never heard of that one. I got to check that out. But Alarms and Excursions, interestingly enough, this is being published back in 1975. And Alarms and Excursions is still published today.
Really?
It is, by the same person.
I had no idea.
And I want to say that I've worked with her. Her name is Lee Gold is the person's name.
That name sounds familiar.
And you can still buy these early editions in PDF form of Alarms and Excursions. And of course, being who I am, I've ordered like the first 25 of them or something. And so I'll be talking about some of the stuff that you find in Alarms and Excursions as well. I'm a historian by profession, or I was an archaeologist for a long time, and then I worked in a museum for quite a while too. But so I have a real interest in history, but it extends to D&D. But I'll be looking at Alarms and Excursions and pointing out some of the stuff that they talk about in there.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
You didn't roll. Oh, that's right. You have a degree in history too that you're going to be getting.
Well, not yet. We'll get there.
I thought you might have rolled your eyes when you said that. It'd be interesting.
No.
Oh, I'm just kidding you. But they talk about, again, going back to this, it's fascinating to me that they've got a dungeon master listing in here. I mean, this is so early in the game, and they've got, I'm just going to read the states that they're listing here so that you can hopefully find someone to play this game with. We've got Virginia, California, Illinois, Washington, Canada, Illinois, Wisconsin. That's Rob Kunst, actually. Mentioned in here, TSR guy. Another Canada, another California, a Michigan, a Missouri, a California, a Michigan, and an Ohio. So yeah, to me it's good stuff.
Yeah, it makes me wonder what all those people are up to now.
Right, yeah. Exactly. And if by some chance one of the four of you used to advertise your Dungeon Master services in the Dragon or Strategic Review, let us know.
That's the kind of thing we would love to hear about. We'd love to talk to you
We'd love to have you on a podcast to talk about
absolutely.
This. In this is 1975. This is when The Illusionist first appeared.
You love a good illusionist.
I love my illusionist in Bill's World.
I hate your illusionist in Bill's World.
Hey, I
want to kill your illusionist in Bill's World.
Just so you guys know, my illusionist gnome in Bill's World briefly took over the city of Brass.
Well, as did my human fighter thief.
But I think that my illusionist gnome was really the driving force behind that.
He's not going to be after I cut his head off.
He is an annoying little fellow. I gotta admit. I will accept that. He's a bit eccentric. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Didn't he sign a deal with Asmodeus to sell his soul?
Well, but he didn't know what he was doing. He
should have
duped.
read the paperwork.
Well, but
he was talking to Asmodeus,
but he thought
the king of hell.
But he thought it was. He didn't think it was what it was. And
this seems like a good idea.
I think I might do this. I'll sign there. What's he going to do? Well, yeah. I mean, it just kind of snuck back up on me.
Things really just fell apart there for a while.
They did. It got bad. Also introduced here in 1975 was the clay golem for a monster. Magic. That was the year they introduced the Iowan stones. And then we also have Doc Holliday being introduced here as another element to consider for using in Boot Hill, TSR's Wild West game, which is a great game.
Do they have all of his statistics, like stats and everything?
They do. They've got it all listed here. They've got his speed, his gun accuracy, his throwing accuracy, his bravery, strength, experience, and his gambler rating. They're all right here.
Gambler rating, interesting.
Yeah. It's a great game. We've briefly touched on Boot Hill. That's all we've done.
Yeah,
and that was because I used it for Cowboys and Vampires.
Yeah, that's the only time I've ever played it. Is those 2 or 3 times.
But anyway, that's it, really. That's the. I mean, there's a lot more stuff in here. A lot of it is related to the Empire of the Petal Throne, which is another RPG that TSR published for somebody else.
Yes.
If any of you have played Empire of the Petal Throne or still do, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just tell us about it because I'm really interested.
Basically, if you guys have any cool stories about
we'd love to hear them.
Anything with this kind of stuff, we would love to hear about it.
And for those of you who, out of the 4 of you who are listening to this,
probably 2 now,
or there's probably nobody listening at this point.
It's just talking to ourselves,
exactly,
like usual.
Yeah. At least at the moment we have each other. Exactly. Usually we're on our own talking
in the corner of a room,
walking down the street. You know the great thing about wearing masks during this whole pandemic thing?
You talk to yourself too?
I can talk to myself as I'm walking around the store and nobody thinks I'm crazy because they can't see me talking.
Especially when people make me mad.
Yeah, you're
yeah, exactly.
Anyway, but let us know if any of you have played any of these things. And it's one of the great things that I've enjoyed most about the YouTube channel is we get some really detailed comments about things that people have done or adventures that they've made up, and really some creative things that people have done. And to me, that's one of the most fun things about this whole endeavor.
Yeah, us and our little community all talking about our D&D experiences together.
Exactly. Yeah. All geeking, nerding out, whatever. What's the proper term? Is it geek or nerd?
I prefer nerd.
I use both. But maybe I'm committing a 21st century faux pas by doing that.
I really couldn't tell you.
Okay, well, because I turned to you for this young people stuff.
I don't know what's going on.
Well, it's true. That's a mistake. The philosophy history major is going to be telling me about the modern age.
Recording his Dungeons and Dragons podcast in his basement. I'm going to tell you what's cool.
And on that note, I'm Jim.
I'm Alex.
This is Alex. And this is Old Warlock, possibly our last podcast.
We'll see where it goes from here.
Keep your sword on free and have some fun.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.